Hi, my name is Marialice,
And I'm Curran.
and we're having a seat at the table with Wiley Brazier.
Come have a seat at the table. You've got a seat at the table. Let's have a seat at the table with Wiley Brazier.
Welcome everyone to A Seat at the Table. I am your host, Wiley Brazier V, and I'd like to thank you for tuning in today. Today, I have the distinct pleasure of having not one, but two guests having a seat at the table today. Today, we have a mother and son dynamic duo, Marialice and Curran. How are you both today?
Doing good?
Yeah, we're great. We're really happy to have a seat at your table.
Great. Thanks for being here. It's really a pleasure to have both of you here. For those of you who don't know about Dr. Marialice and Curran, Dr. Marialice is the founder and executive director of the Digital Citizenship Institute. As a pioneer in digital citizenship, she's developed and created the first 3-credit digital citizenship course for teachers in the United States. She co-founded the Digital Citizenship Chat in Twitter back in 2011 and the Digital Citizenship Summit in 2015. She serves on the leadership team for the International Society for Technology and Education, which we all know as ISTE, the Digital Citizenship PLN, and is a researcher, keynote speaker, international speaker, and TEDx youth speaker. She is committed to promoting social good using social media and technology. She believes in community-driven approach to educating and empowering digital citizens to create solutions in local, global, and digital communities. Her mission is to turn negatives into positives and to help to transform participants into designers, creative thinkers, global collaborators, problem solvers, and justice-oriented digital citizens. She is partnered with her 11-year-old son, and the two are now recognized professionally as a mother-son digital citizenship team. The dynamic duo model best practice while working with parents, educators, students, and community organizations. At the age of 9, Curran D founded Dig Sit Kids, a digital citizenship for kids by kids. As the and chief kid officer, the CKO, he is a 5th grader, a gamer, and a YouTuber, a hockey player, and an international speaker in the UK at the Twitter headquarters in Nigeria, Mexico, and Spain, and a Student Ignite speaker at ISTE. He has presented at MindFair and online at both EdChange Global and Global Maker Day. Curran is also a TEDx youth speaker, and his talk has been used as part of a professional development for educators as a way to encourage student choice and encourage students as leaders. If you want us to learn about the world, we need to learn with the world, is one of his great quotes. Curran's wish is for the digital access for students everywhere, and Dig Sit Kids is a way to amplify student voice in K-12 classrooms. Marialice and Curran, welcome to the show. And again, thank you for having a seat at the table with the audience and I today. So let's kind of, both of you have done a lot of great things. And Curran, I have to start by commending you because, starting at the age of 9 and already at 11, you have already been all over the world and speaking. You're very accomplished for now. You're in the middle school now, right? Or elementary?
Elementary.
Okay, cool.
Making a big move next year.
Making a big move next year. There you go. Okay, I'm a high school guy, so I'm not as familiar with the ages down in that grade level. But yes, you have done all of these things, even more so as an elementary school kid. Kudos to you. So let's kind of start with the basics. For people who are listening, and watching, what is digital citizenship?
Digital citizenship is being safe, savvy, and using tech for good.
I like that. I like that. That's, a very eloquent, easy way. Give that to our audience again.
Digital citizenship is being safe, savvy, and using tech for good.
That's great. I like that. Being safe, savvy, and using tech for good. I'm going to have to remember that, use that.
And I can just jump in. I mean, the first thing, we've got to, no matter how many people you talk to about what does digital citizenship mean, you're going to get a bunch of different definitions depending on their focus. And generally speaking, it can be a very narrow focus just on, what not to do. Like, avoid this. This is a bad app. That is, and it adds to a lot of scare tactics and fear. So safety is the most important, no doubt about it. And we have to then add like layers that we start with that conversation about how are you safe online? How are you socially responsible would be like another layer. And, that brings in, you brought in savvy. How are you using these tools in a really responsible way? And then it brings in ethics. And I feel like how then are you using tech for good is this other layer, this last layer that we think really goes from that reactive approach to a really proactive approach.
I like that. I really like that, being proactive, because many times, like you just said, it's all about what not to do, but encouraging the positive of what to do. We need to be able to show them. I like that.
In fact, when we talk to even school districts and we look at like some tech policies, in fact, we won't shame anybody. We won't say, Wiley, what is your tech policy at your, but a lot of times it will say, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. And what do we want to change them to?
We want to change them to do this, do that.
Right, some I will statements, some really more positive, so that students have an example of what to do rather than just what not to do.
Okay, cool. So as we talk about digital citizenship and the things to do, the being proactive online, there's this thing called a digital footprint. So can you all tell us about like what is a digital footprint?
Okay, well, I'm going to age myself and go back into the 80s and think about Sting. And when he sang that song, Every Breath You Take, I think he's singing to, somebody that he's very attracted to, somebody he's longing for, perhaps. But that idea of every step you take, every move you make, I'll be watching you.
Yes.
Actually, now that I'm saying all the lyrics, it sounds a little bit like a stalker. Really, when you think of that song, Sting's song back in the 80s, and you apply it to today, all of the decisions that we're making online, all of them are permanently recorded. And so a lot of that, I think, adds to that fear. And we look at some of our headlines that are sensational headlines of awful things that kids are doing with their digital footprint. But you want to share, especially when we were just in Mexico, what Timmy Sullivan does about his digital footprint. What's his big topic that he wants students? He says, Google me, why?
Google me, I dare you.
Yeah, so there's this Timmy Sullivan. He's one of our favorite student speakers. We've known him since he was in high school. He's now in college. But say the title of his session again.
Google me, I dare you.
And when we've done this with Timmy, and he will dare the audience. Go ahead, Google me, I dare you. And you see all these positive choices that he has made. And it takes that idea of that digital footprint or that digital tattoo. I know it's called that as well. And it shows you really positive examples of choices that he's made. So, in fact, if you put in Timmy Sullivan, if anybody's listening or watching, you've got to Timmy Sullivan, you'll get a lot of different names. But if you start to, Timmy Sullivan went to school in Burlington, Massachusetts for the high school. And he's also a sophomore at UMass Amherst. So if you just put in Timmy Sullivan, Google me, I dare you, you could get a lot of Timmys. But it's a great exercise, and it shows a really positive digital footprint.
That's cool. So, when you were just talking about the lyrics, on this theme song. You know, you mentioned, you know, some of them sound like a stalker, you know what I mean? But today in the digital world, you know, we would consider those stalkers kind of like lurkers, you know?
Yeah, or
Yeah.
the trolls. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yes, yes. All right. So, you know, there are things that we shouldn't do online, like you just mentioned, but you all kind of focus more on the positives of what you should do and things of that nature. You know, do you have any basics of, like, you know, what they should do online, what kids should do, or what we as just people in general should do, or any basics of, like, you know, what I you know, digital etiquette, or what I like to call netiquette?
Sure. You wanted to, well, can we jump in and just tell you a little bit about DigCit Kids? Because then when we start to describe some amazing things that kids are doing, it will really highlight, you know, what we should be doing. So
Yeah, definitely. Tell us about DigCit Kids.
How did it start?
When I was in the 3rd grade, I gave my first TEDx Youth talk.
Hold on. Well, way back when he was in the 3rd grade, right? Way in the 3rd grade. Yep.
At the conference, it was a conference about digital citizenship.
And it was all for
youth. But I was the only speaker that was a kid. Everyone else were either high school students or adults.
And I can tell you from the mom's perspective, he's backstage and he was like, you know, this is a youth event and I'm the only elementary age student. Why is everybody waiting so long? Like, why everybody else is either in high school or they're adults? And he was spot on. And so at that point, I feel like you wanted me to, like, hey, can you create some sort of event that's just for elementary students? Because you basically were telling the adults that we're waiting too long to have this conversation. And then that kind of evolved into creating an event into DigCit Kids. And why did you start DigCit Kids?
That idea of an event the idea of the conference turned into a whole company.
Yeah, this whole company where instead of adults talking about students,
kids are talking about all the amazing things kids are doing online.
Yeah, because I can tell you, I remember him saying, why aren't our adults talking about student voice? Why aren't students talking about it? Why aren't students empowering other students? We've got some great examples of students using tech for good, and that will help, like, what should students do for positive digital footprints and creating them. And so do you want us to tell the story about Miss Jalen's class? They're LE Primary 1. How old are those students?
5 and 6-year-old.
And they're in Scotland, and you want to tell the story about why they got DigCit Kids certified? What did they do as a classroom?
They memorized math facts to raise money to buy toilets for the homeless.
And so to us, you know, what they you know, when you're 5 and 6 years old, you've got to memorize math facts. That's just what you have to do when you're 5 or 6. But they were also identifying real problems in their local community, which was homelessness. And they decided as a class, they were going to purchase a portable potty. And as a classroom, they put it out there on Twitter about what they were doing and looking for anybody that wanted to sponsor them. And then what happened?
They raised enough money to buy several porta potties.
Yeah, which is just amazing. So you identify a real problem in a local, global, or digital community, and you solve it, and then you use social media to empower other kids to do the same thing. You want to share about the student in Houston? Because this is another great story.
So they had to identify a problem.
I think it was part of a science class.
In their community.
Yeah.
And try to solve it. But after the project was over, she kept doing the project.
Okay, let them know what the project was. What did she see as her problem?
Banning plastic bags.
Yeah, for the bayous. And so,
we need that.
So the project ended, and she was so inspired. What did she end up doing?
She created a change.org petition to raise money to ban plastic bags in Houston.
Which is amazing. I mean, what elementary students know about change.org? I mean, it's remarkable. Can you imagine if more students in more classrooms wanted to take that initiative? And so let's look at, I know that this is kind of political, but what's happening with the students in Florida? And the footprint and not just the footprint, but the impact that they're making by sharing their voices in such a positive way through social media. That's to us what a kid is.
Yes, definitely. You know, you've given some great examples of how to be able to use technology to help solve and impact local and global communities. So, and I heard you mention something about DIGCIT Kids certified, becoming DIGCIT Kids certified. What's that all about? And how do you get DIGCIT Kids certified?
You want to share how it all was inspired by President Barack Obama, and you can read the exact quote?
The DIGCIT Kids Pledge was inspired by President Barack Obama, and I want to ask ourselves every day, how are we using technology to make a real difference in people's lives?
And can you imagine if classrooms or, individual students, teachers, parents at home, I mean, this is something that has to happen both in and out of school. You ask yourself that question every single day. And every single day, you make a conscious choice that how am I going to use tech for good? How am I going to try to make a real difference in people's lives? And if we were all doing that, the world would be such a better place.
Definitely, because technology has, I don't want to say it's made the world flat, but it's definitely shrunk the world so that we can make an impact larger than just our local community. So I like all of that. What advice, with all of that being said, what advice do you have for teachers and students and other educators on the importance of using technology properly and digital citizenship? And, what advice do you have for them?
Okay, I think that the big advice is that this isn't just something we talk about at an assembly. This is something that, and it also isn't something that is like an add-on, like, it's one more thing that I have to do. This is everybody's responsibility, and it's easy to embed it. If I was going to answer this question, I'm going to look at what Bronwyn Joyce is doing in Australia with her Flipgrid every single week. And I feel like this is what DIGCIT Kids is doing as well, connecting to the global goals. And every single week, her students, I think they're about your age, maybe a year older, they are finding real problems, and they are asking other students around the world to share their voice on their Flipgrid, our global classroom, and come up with solutions. And every single week, I'm so inspired by the number of students all around the world that want their voice to be heard, to be part of a solution. So I feel like if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And so this is something that it doesn't matter what age you are, what grade, or what content you teach. This is something that we all need to be doing. So if you wanted to answer that question, I feel like you did that at ISTE, at your Ignite, to inspire teachers, because you learn differently. We haven't even gotten into that. You learn differently at home than you do at school. What would be your message for teachers?
Ask your kids how they would like to learn, break down the classroom walls, learn with other classrooms around the world, connect with them.
Yeah, and then, the line that Wiley already used earlier about learning about the world.
If you want us to learn about the world, we have to learn with the world.
And that's really the truth. And so if there was a big message for like connected learning, this is it. This is the cry out, because blocking and banning and saying I don't have time. This isn't, we don't go online anymore. Our world is online, and there's no difference between being on and offline. And if our students don't have that opportunity to practice what this looks like in a really positive way, starting early and continuing often, then we find ourselves with those sensational headlines and students getting kicked off of sporting teams or losing scholarships or what have you. And
yes,
and we really want to change that narrative into something more positive.
Cool. So do you have any resources or like recommendations to help students and teachers and kids to be able to do a lot of the things that you're recommending that they do? Like you just mentioned, I think Bronwyn's who's fabulous, with her Flipgrid. Do you have any other resources to recommend to the audience?
You know, I would say for grades 1 through 5, we're really excited. We've just partnered with Empatico, which is through the Kind Foundation, and their whole focus is building empathy. So if I was going to say, you know, something very easy, it is global connections and collaboration, really completely 100% focused on empathy. So that would be one thing. Anything to do, you know, we've always joined like the Skype-a-thon, anything to do with Skype in the classroom, and making those connections using Flipgrid. I can tell you we've got some exciting news. Just before ISTE, we are in the process of uploading our courses on kite learning.
Okay.
Yeah, so we will, by ISTE, we will have some digital citizenship courses up on Kite Learning platform. And it will be tied to the ISTE standards, but it will be really an opportunity for teachers that are coming back and looking for, you know, their professional development points or their CEUs, whatever it might be called in your particular state, to really focus in on digital citizenship. So we're excited about that. That's up and coming. And then the other thing that we ended up doing is we are, through the Institute, working with districts where we're doing pre and post audits, and we are personalizing professional development for districts, looking at what programs you already have in place and how we can amplify, because the whole point is we need to meet people where they're at, right? And,
Yes.
we need to meet them where they're at, and we need to help move them forward. And that's really what we're committed to. And I know you and I will go places as a mother and son team, and we'll work with PTOs and because we need to have our parents on board too. This isn't just something that, you know, we do professional development for teachers and that's enough. This is a community approach where we involve students and we involve parents as well as the educators.
That's great. So, you know, kids go online, and you've mentioned a bunch of different resources. And I totally agree that kids having empathy is going to help be the best deterrent for a lot of different things that happen online and just inappropriate things. So what can students do to keep themselves safe in social media environments?
Okay, you remember when we were kids, we had a neighborhood watch? And like something happened, like the neighbor down the street would take care of it, right? Would take care of it immediately because there was a neighborhood watch in place. What we've tried to do is create that neighborhood watch online. And so when you started, you wanted to have a Twitter account and you wanted to be online and you wanted to be blogging, but he was underage. In fact, he's still underage. How old are you?
11.
So we kind of have to play by the rules. And the rules are you're supposed to be 13, although we know our young students and young children are breaking those, age requirements. And so what have we decided to do as when we first got you online?
We created a mother and son account on Twitter.
Yeah, so we created a mother and son account. How many Twitter chats have you moderated side by side, just how we are right now?
Couple dozen.
I mean, at least for educators. And so what we're trying to model right now, like side by side, learning together, instead of talking at students, we talk with, that this is just a great opportunity. When you think of driver's ed, before you get the keys of the car, you got to know the rules of the road. And the only way you learn the rules of the road is if you're going to have this opportunity to practice. Now, coming from Massachusetts, I have to tell you, going around that rotary, all those cobblestones and one street roads, it's important to know the rules of the road. And so I feel like the best way to answer that question is that our young people need an opportunity to practice early and often, and they need us side by side, because you and I don't have a older sibling or a parent that I can say, hey, how did you navigate this? How did you do this? We're all in this together.
You are correct when you say we're all in this together. And with that neighborhood watch, I know where I grew up as well as many of us have. You know, it takes a village to raise a child, and everyone in the neighborhood had a hand in helping to make sure that their children were steered on the right path. So that's definitely a great way to protect against, you know, everything from bullying to cyberbullying and everything. Kudos.
Right.
I like that.
In fact, we identify, just like you would identify, you know, if you had like a plan in your home about if there was a fire, you know, an emergency, where do you go? So what did we do early on about that, your online neighborhood watch? You identified, in fact, I know Wiley knows some of these people. Who are some of your, if you got into trouble and you needed help, who were those adults?
Sarah Thomas, Jamie Donnelly, and Derek.
And Derek Larson. I mean, early on, we identified, and we had this kind of contract, you know, and all three of them know that they are our online watch, because that's what you need. And then you also need other students. You need other young people that you know as well that are also of the same mind. And there are so many that we've identified as Digit Kids, like approved. They're doing great stuff, but this is, you know, you need to have that online neighborhood watch as well in place, like a plan.
Cool. I like that. Online neighborhood watch. All right. So I saw on your website I saw something called the iCitizen Project. Tell me about that. What is the iCitizen Project?
Okay, it changed everything. So I was a faculty member. I was a faculty member on record at the University of St. Joseph in West Hartford, Connecticut for the EdTech program. And I taught both undergraduate and graduate students. And there were a lot of suicides and cyberbullying cases that were predominant. And I remember one in particular, Tyler Clemente. And I don't know Tyler Clemente. I don't know his family, but at the time I was a relatively new mother, and his college, he was a college freshman, and his college roommate secretly recorded a romantic encounter, and he took his life.
Wow.
The roommate had like live streamed it, and the It Gets Better campaign came out in full force, which was fantastic. And they were sending that message to teens everywhere that it gets better. But I personally was like, why do we have to wait for it to get better? Like, even though I'm just one person, what can I do to make a difference now? So I started creating courses. So in the fall of 2011, sorry. In the fall of 2011, I created this course called Pleased to Tweet You. Are you a socially responsible digital citizen? And I thought it was going to be a great course for incoming freshmen. No matter what their program of study was going to be, was going to really be a great way, an introduction into college. And so as I was getting ready for the fall of 2011, that summer, I sent out a blog post and I tweeted, does anybody want to collaborate with my college freshmen? And immediately I heard from Cape Town, South Africa. And I was like, whoa, I mean, I know how social media works, but my little blog post immediately made it to Cape Town, South Africa. And the beautiful thing is, you know, that geography knows no boundaries. And so blog posts and tweets can get there instantaneously. But unfortunately, time zones, we haven't figured out time zones yet. So to make a long story short, I heard from a lot of people that were interested. And do you know Beth Sanders? She's Miss Sanders, EDU, I think, on Twitter. At the time, she was a second-year teacher. She said, my high school juniors in Birmingham, Alabama, we'd love to participate. So I'd never met Beth, and we had agreed to collaborate on this project. And basically, it was my college freshmen, her high school juniors. The entire course was online, you know, because of geography. And I was hoping we were going to come up with a student solution towards cyberbullying. But Beth and I both took a back seat, and we let the students drive the entire semester and course and project, and they coined it the iCitizen Project. And they basically defined what digital citizenship means, what it means to be a citizen in the 21st century. And to go back to your first question on a definition for digital citizenship, to this day, my definition comes from that project, which is, how do we help students to be able to think and act? And the act part is the most important. So you can't just think about it. This is the actionable part. How do students think and act at local, global, and digital levels simultaneously? And really, that project then was like the first chapter into so many things that I've developed professionally, but also personally alongside my son.
Cool. So that sounds like a real powerful course. Is it still available, or is that something that passed? Or
People ask that. I should put the syllabus up online to make it available, because it was fabulous. And there's a YouTube where the problem is, the more you pay to go to school, the less you go to school. And so our semester ended, the beginning of December, and we didn't want it to be over. And so I scrambled so we could have our another event, a live event. So we had a live event for a live audience, which we also live streamed. This was now February of 2012. And at the time, you never knew if you were going to be able to keep if you were to drop the call. And we kicked off the entire event with the high school juniors in Birmingham on a Skype call. And they kicked off the event as like the leaders in this solution. And it was so powerful. So I don't know if you'll be able to add that link to the iCitizen project or to Beth Sanders, but it was a game changer for both my college freshmen and her high school juniors, as well as for Beth and myself.
Definitely. If you provide that to me, we can definitely put that there. And if you want to share the syllabus, I can get that on there as well.
Okay, super.
Share that out. We talked a lot. We talked to shop a lot, talked about, a lot of the digital citizenship things, and you've provided some phenomenal resources. I'm going to add a lot of that into the show notes. So I want to get a little personal for both of you. So at this time, I want to ask you a couple of questions, and I want to start this one with Curran. Curran, if you could wake up tomorrow having gained any one quality or ability, what would it be and why?
I would want to be able to cure the world water crisis.
Oh, that's great. That is great. That's really powerful.
In fact, do you want to add anything? I'm even thinking, I wouldn't have even thought you would have gone in that direction. Do you want to start again because if you wanted to stick with digital citizenship too, what was and the dog, can you see the dog in this? Because he's distracted.
No.
Okay, just stop. Can you talk about access? Because you learn differently at home than you do at school. And what do you want for all kids? Start that off.
I would want digital access for all students everywhere, and internet access for everyone at school and at home.
Cool. What about yourself, Marialice? If you could have one quality or ability, what would it be?
I'm gonna have to go with access too, because this is about connections, and digital citizenship is about making those human connections online. And we've had these opportunities, whether it was in person or online, to connect with so many different people, all different ages. But we want to have these opportunities for everybody, not just a select group. So I'm going to have to go with I'm going to echo the same thing, both as an educator and as a parent.
Cool. So you all have been doing a variety of things with digital citizenship, with DITSIT Kids, the certification, iCitizens, DITSIT Summit, and just a variety of things. So what are your goals for the future?
You want to say what we're doing in a month?
we're going to Ireland for a Digit Summit Ireland.
Yep, that's going to be on April 28th at Trinity College. I think any goals is probably going to continue to work with a lot of different communities and different, because this is everybody's responsibility. But how about any more goals? I mean, you're going to get ready for going to middle school as you continue with Digit Kids. You know, we've been in a safe haven for elementary school. I know things are going to change in the middle school. What are some goals for you?
In Ireland, I want to meet some more kids.
Yeah, I think really, honestly, it probably is working with more kids. When we were in Nigeria, what did you notice the big difference?
They don't have internet access like us.
Right, but they're so willing and so
Yeah.
able. And they're like, I think the number one thing is that we've learned along the way is that there are more things that make us the same than make us different. And that's that humanity piece.
Yes, yes. All right. So then, any last thoughts here, and anything you want to say to the world, everyone listening?
Do you want to just share the what happened when we were in Nigeria about the global read aloud? Because that's just a great story.
So there's two brothers, Prince and Goodluck, and one the last day we were in Nigeria, they asked us if we could leave anything for them to remember us. And I didn't bring much on the trip. The only thing I had was The Wild Robot, a global read out loud book. So we decided to give the book to them. And then when we got home, they joined us in the global read out loud.
And it was like we wrote a note inside the book and we invited them to join us. And, you know, it's the idea that one book really does change the world, but the idea of a connected opportunity with a book instead of reading just a book by yourself, but now you can connect with other classrooms. And so before we got home, they had found other teachers in other classrooms, and they were so enthusiastic about joining the Global Read Aloud. It was pretty powerful. And then we had an event in Utah, and a teacher, an educator from Nigeria was coming to speak, and I knew we could get something back to those brothers. And what did they ask for?
They asked for Pokemon cards.
Well, and what else?
And
Well, because that was also a huge thing, Pokemon. But they wanted, Goodluck wanted something.
Goodluck wanted
An SAT.
no,
Remember?
that was Prince that wanted the SAT.
No, I think, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Oh, all right. Yeah, one of them wanted the SAT book.
And the other one wanted another global read aloud book. And when you think I can get you anything, and they both wanted, I mean, it's powerful.
Cool. So, so that led us right into the story. So that was a great story and a very powerful one of continuous and lifelong 24/7 learning. That's like phenomenal, of the impact that people can have on people across the globe. That's great. And as we close out, where can people go to learn more about DigSit and the things that you all are doing, and how can they connect with both of you?
Okay.
You can follow me on Twitter at Curran Central and at DigSit Kids. DigSit Kids is also on Instagram and Facebook, and our website is digitkids.com.
And then I would say for anything to do with the summits, which is just an opportunity that is so focused on a community approach to digital citizenship, you could go to digitsummit.com. And then the Institute, which is really focused on our professional development and our curriculum and our certification, that's digsitinstitute.com. And then, you know, I'm on Twitter. Those are both on Twitter, and we're on Facebook, and we're on Instagram. But, you know, I've got all those crazy initials on Twitter, MBFXC. And so I think it's probably easy to find us. Back to the digital footprint. I think if you put in Marialice and Curran as a mom-son digital citizenship team, you'll find us.
Great. Thank you. I appreciate everything. Thank you, Marialice. Thank you, Curran, for joining me today and sharing your time, talents, and your treasure with me and the world. To everyone tuning in, thank you for sharing your time and having a seat at the table. Like a home-cooked meal, I hope this show has nourished your body and your mind. So until next time, with me, you will always have a seat at the table. Thank you again, Marialice and Curran.
Perfect. Thanks so much.